Greetings, savages. Let's talk a little business before we get started today on this incredible podcast day. Iron and Stone Strength up in the Buffalo, New York area. They are running a great business up there. They have an awesome gym, and they have the best apparel in the game. These are strongman athletes who are making stuff for us as athletes. You got to support the people who support us, right? Iron and Stone Strength. Wonderful humans, wonderful gear, the shirts, the hats, the sweatshirts, all awesome stuff. I highly recommend it. Very classy looking when you go out, nothing crazy, just very cool, classy gear. I suggest you check them out. IronandStoneStrength.com. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE at checkout for 20% off. Deep in the heart of Bozeman, Montana, we have Stay Classy Meats. I am 100% carnivore these days, and Stay Classy Meats feeds my meals. Every meal I have is involved with Stay Classy Meats in one way or another. I'm into my second elite box through them, and I couldn't be happier. Small batch farm animals that they can see and touch and feel and know where they're being raised and how they're being treated. They're eating Montana grass and drinking from mountain streams. If you are not hunting meat yourself, this is the best way to get your meat. I promise you, these animals are treated humanely. Check them out. StayClassyMeats.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. Serious Steel. SeriousSteel.com. You got to check these guys out as well. Serious Steel is the company. If you need anything for your home gym, your commercial gym, your CrossFit gym, your high school gym, whatever you need, these guys have it, from plates and bars to kettlebells to all the stuff you need. They also have stuff like wraps and straps and knee sleeves and just anything you could possibly want for your strength journey. Give these guys a holler. Check them out. It's a great small company run by fantastic people who have your best interest at mind. They're one of us, guys, so go and support them. Savage at checkout at SeriousSteel.com for 10% off. Warrior CBD has been one of our sponsors almost for as long as we've been getting sponsors, and I couldn't be happier with them. They are really fantastic people. Some of you saw me lifting an Atlas Stone the other day with a Warrior CBD t-shirt on. They take care of us, and I couldn't be happier with them. Love these guys. The product was created by Jujitsu and MMA fighters. These guys get beat up. They know what the rigors of training is all about. Hey, and it works great for all of us, guys. We all have bumps and bruises. We all have issues sleeping. We all have anxiety issues. Warrior CBD can help you. Don't buy garbage CBD. CBD is coming out on shelves now, and it's like, they have generic forms of this. Some of the stuff is just complete and utter garbage. Go to people who I trust and who I know you're going to love. WarriorCBDofficial.com. Use the code WARRIOR20 off at checkout for 20% off. Cerberus Strength. You guys need to be checking out Cerberus Strength. I keep telling you about this company, and they have everything we need as Highland Games athletes. They have everything you guys need as strongman athletes, powerlifters. They have all the gear. They've got knee sleeves and elbow sleeves, which are just frigging fantastic. I love them. Wrist straps, belts, t-shirts, smelling salts. They have sandbags of every weight and size, all the way up. That's one of their signature products that I think that both the strongman community and the Highland Games community needs to embrace. Really get on and start buying these sandbags from them. They're better than the other name brand out there, and they're good people behind it and good people making this stuff. And again, a company that supports strongman and supports Highland Games and supports powerlifting, and we need to support them. Cerberus-strength.us. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE10 at checkout for 10% off. And finally, today, that store-bought coffee you are currently sipping on tastes like shit, doesn't it? I told you, don't drink that garbage. Check out Evan Armstrong's Viking Coffee. Viking Coffee, he's got our Old Man Strength Brew, which of course is my favorite, but he has all different kinds of flavors on hand. Give him a shout. Buy some coffee. VikingCoffeeCode.com. Use the code VikingCoffee10 at checkout for 10% off. Today on the show, the first of my interviews when I made my spiritual journey down to Key West, Florida a little while back. John Holster. John is the bartender at the Chart Room Bar in the Pier House Resort in Key West, Florida. Now, it may not mean a lot to you, even for some of you people who've been down to Key West, but it is one of the most important jobs on the island. John is the unofficial historian for Key West, Florida, and he knows everything about all the real history of Key West, Florida, as far as the pirates, the smugglers, the gun runners, the cops, the crooks, the singers, the poets, everyone like that. And we sat down and had a long talk about Key West history and the history of piracy and smuggling and all that good stuff. And on top of that, he's a Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. So we spent a little time talking Jiu-Jitsu and MMA and everything else. And it was a fantastic podcast we did at the Salty Angler on Duval Street, in the heart of it all. I love Key West. You guys know I love Key West, and John is one of the big reasons I love it down there. I go down and sit at the edge of the bar and just listen to him tell stories all night, and that's kind of what I wanted to bring to you guys. So check it out. Listen to some stories. Make your reservations to head down to Key West, Florida, and I'll see you at the end.
John, welcome to the show. Thank you. We are in Key West, Florida at the Salty Angler. So we found this nice little courtyard out back. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is because you have, for me, one of the most important jobs in Key West when I come down here. Because the Chart Room Bar, where you bartend, is, for me, the heart and soul of the whole island. It holds all the history. It holds all the stories. All the people who have come through there and made a name for themselves have somehow ended up in that bar at some place. And it's kind of up to the bar, whoever's the bartender there, to have stories and anecdotes and kind of hold court there. So I've been down here several times. The first time I went down there was a guy named Mike Sprinkle, and he was the bartender, and he had some great stories. And then I went down later on, and there was a young lady. She wasn't very good. We came down about, I don't know, it was almost 2 years ago now, and met you, and it was like you had the whole history of the island behind you. And I think it's an important job.
I try. There's a lot to learn. I went to the library when I first started because I knew it was going to be an important part of my job.
Really?
And I didn't want people to be showing up asking about the history and not really have a real answer for them. And I don't like to bullshit either, so I wanted to be as accurate as I could, which is very difficult.
How long have you been working there?
Going on 4 years.
4 years. And you're digging it? I mean, is it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I like the clientele there because people don't just accidentally go to that bar. They go because they do appreciate that history you were just talking about. It's real social, friendly bar, and it's got that cool element of history.
Yeah. First time I walked in, we were on like some kind of, it was our first year down here. We were on some kind of tour of the island. It was our last day here. And you don't even know where the chart room is. It's housed inside the Pier House Resort. Pier House doesn't seem like they're super excited that it's still in there.
I don't think so.
Right. And they dragged us in there, and the tour guide started telling us about the history of the place and all the people who spent time in there. And I mean, I learned names like Mel Fisher in there and Captain Tony, and you learn about the island in that bar. Literally in the bar itself. Tell them about the people who are actually in the bar.
So we have 5 guys in the bar out of 7. One of those 7 actually has passed away, and we're waiting on his ashes. His siblings came and picked him up and burned him to New York, and they're as old as he was. So we're having a hard time getting his ashes back. But they were just a bunch of buddies that hung out at the bar. It was nothing to do with money. They all just decided we like this bar so much, we want to all leave a part of ourselves together in the bar. And that was their agreement, and they did it.
It's so you go in, and in front of certain stools, there's a little plug, and then a nameplate, and so they actually have at least part of their ashes in terms of
just a small amount. Back then they called it a nickel bag. Back when those of you know what a nickel bag is. Back when we were kids,
there's
you
not
couldn't afford very much
anymore. They use dime bags. I think they're like quarter bags now.
Like, are you playing the game or not? Yeah, no more nickel bags, but that's how they said it back then.
Yeah.
Just a small amount. It's more about principle.
Yeah. And Mel Fisher's actually in there too,
yes,
right?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're as soon as this interview's done, we both have to flee, but I'm going down to interview his grandson. And, that was one of those names, right? I had no idea who Mel Fisher was until I walked into that bar and got to see some of the relics from the Atocha and some pictures of the divers. And that story is another. The whole island is just, I think there's people who come down here who think that they're coming down to the island just to party, and that's it. I don't think they ever spend a lot of time actually figuring out there's so much more to it than just
the history's amazing.
Yeah.
And Mel Fisher and Jimmy Buffett, those two guys had a ton to do with shaping the vibe and the feel of this island, like a place for dreamers, a place for kicking back with your drink on the blue water. Huge influence, and both of those guys were very regular at the chart room, actually.
Yeah.
It's the first place Jimmy played in town.
Have you seen Buffett since?
Nope.
That's been it?
I was aware a little over a year ago, he did a surprise pop-in at Margaritaville for a fundraiser.
Right.
I lived by there. I happened to be walking by. I'm like, man, I've never seen Margaritaville so crowded.
Right.
So sure enough, I look on Facebook the next day, and he popped in, which that's cool, because it was a fundraiser.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's just so big these days that it'd be too much for him to show up there. Maybe he couldn't relax.
Yeah.
It'd be neat to see him, but I can't judge him on that.
Right, yeah.
But either way, I can't tell you how much business I get because of his history there. Anyone who's a fan has got to go to the chart room because he used to play there for free beers.
Right. And Phil Clark, who was the bartender there, another character, another
big character.
Key West legend. If I'm correct, he was the inspiration for Pirate Looks at 40.
That's correct, yeah. A little more on him, something interesting.
Yeah, tell me Phil Clark stories, because I love Phil Clark stories.
Well, I got a couple. I'm going to start with a modern thing. With all this DNA testing, I think Phil was kind of a Captain Tony and didn't know it. I've had two of his children come in the last year who, because of DNA testing, realized they were his children. Two of them came in to learn about their daddy, Phil, who they never knew. So, Phil lived a good life while he was alive, I believe. And, so another random story by Tom Corcoran. Tom was the other original. Phil and Tom were the first two bartenders at the chart room.
And Tom is like a fantastic author, if you haven't checked out his books.
I have.
I think he lives in St. Pete or Tampa?
Lakeland, Florida.
He's one of the ones I'd like to wrangle to get on the podcast eventually.
It would be awesome.
Yeah.
I got the pleasure of meeting him, and great storyteller. You can see where he was a great bartender.
Yeah.
Awesome author. Just a cool guy in general. If you ever can, he'd be an awesome interview.
Yeah, I'm going to get him eventually.
So the story that he gave me about Phil was one time he went into the chart room as a customer. Phil's bartending, and Phil was wasted, which was just kind of normal,
Standard operating procedure.
Yeah. But Phil's like, hey, Tom, can you fill in for a minute? I want to go jump in the pool, sober up a little bit. So Tom's like, all right, that's cool. So Tom gets behind the bar, he's hanging out. Phil goes out to the pool, takes off all his clothes, jumps in, hangs out for a while, comes back to the bar. It's like, all right, Tom, I appreciate it. I'm ready to go. And Tom goes, that's cool, Phil, but you're not wearing any clothes. Phil didn't give a shit. Proceeded to bartend naked for a while.
Nice.
I thought that was some pretty funny stuff.
Yeah. Is there any truth to the story that he was, he ended up, his ashes were taken around to the bars when he died, and some college girls?
There is. Not college girls. Were you going to say snorted it?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Tell the story.
I happen to know a guy who did it. Great thing about working there, I get all the old school guys.
Right.
So I get the good stories. But I know a guy who was a good friend of Phil's, and the ashes did wind up in different bars. But this guy and another male friend were cruising around with the ashes, and for whatever reason, they decided to snort them. So I know someone who snorted Phil Clark's ashes. Doesn't make much sense. That won't hurt you, but it doesn't get you high either. But
right.
I guess it's something you can tell your grandkids about.
Yeah, and I think people who
that is true, but it was I know the guy who did it. One of two.
He's such he's one of those characters that not many people he's obviously not Buffett or Mel Fisher, but he's just one of these Key West characters that show up in these stories. And Gentleman Phil Clark, and I'll never forget the book, Tom Cochran's book, Buffett, the Key West Years, and there's just a picture of him in like a blazer with an ascot, and a drink, and just kind of raising one eyebrow to the camera, and it was just like, wow.
He was a character. I think there could be pictures of him with all kinds of looks.
Yeah, right.
I think he grew up actually well in the Northeast and wound up becoming kind of an expat in the islands.
That's what the book said. Yeah.
Got into some shady stuff.
Right. He said Cochran called him an ex-gun runner, sometime pirate, and former New England prep schooler.
Yeah.
Which
big time pot guy.
Yeah.
When he actually left Key West, he was wanted and left with a Winnebago full of weed. And happened to he went to Washington State, where the guy who snorted his ashes, I'm not going to say his name.
Yeah.
His father and brother lived in Washington State. He went there and was hoping to offload some of the weed there. They weren't interested. Wound up, for whatever reason, in the San Francisco Bay Area. And that's where he wound up drowning. And that's suspicious because he's a guy who lived on a boat a lot and was always wasted. So why all of a sudden is he going to fall in the water and drown?
Yeah.
No one knows. Another mystery.
Wow.
But a real interesting character. That not a Jimmy Buffett or Mel Fisher. More shady cat.
A little bit shady.
Interesting.
That's the thing about this island that I love, are these
full of shady cats.
Shady characters, man, but it's not an island where you ever feel unsafe.
Correct. I love that about it.
Bunch of pirates walking around this island.
Now, back in the day, though, even in the Phil Clark days, the safety factor was a whole lot different.
Right.
They say just like Caroline Street, which is one of our nicer streets right now, was very dangerous. If you weren't wearing the big old shrimper boots, you were confused and you were in the wrong place. Those guys would fight each other just for the fun of it. Like, just heavy intoxication involved. But real rough.
That's that woman
sailors, too.
Yeah.
Women going crazy on Caroline Street.
Right. They talk about them getting in fist fights.
Yeah. It didn't used to be quite so safe. It was a legit pirate place. Now it's a little bit more of the stories, and it's much more safe because it's such a nice place.
Weird thing is you don't see cops very often down here.
I've been critical of cops a lot in my life. I've never said I love cops. I love our cops.
Yeah.
Like, they're there. I've seen problems happen, and they show up like magic out of the dark.
Right. Navy SEALs.
I've seen fights. They show up out of nowhere within like less than 30 seconds. The dudes are like maced and taken away or whatever happens, and everyone continues on doing what they're doing. They're there. They do a great job, but they don't sit around and intimidate.
Right. Well,
they sit on paralleling streets.
Yeah.
Like Whitehead and Simonton. They'll be on paralleling streets being cool, and if you're not doing a big deal, I've seen a dude break a bottle on the street, and the cop cleaned it up.
Wow.
Didn't even give him a ticket.
Yeah.
I think I'd have given him a ticket in that case.
Right.
But he didn't do they really do serve and protect.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. They're not trying to make a business out of tickets.
I was on a bar crawl down here one time, and we got down to Rick's. Or maybe it was, right by Rick's and Irish Kevin's down there. And all of a sudden this cop pops out of nowhere, stops traffic in both directions so people could actually bar crawl across the street. So they were doing wheelbarrow races across the street. So you just like stop traffic on Duval Street.
How often do you see that?
Never, right?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're pro-tourism, pro-good times, and not just trying to make money off of tickets, make money off of, hopefully, city revenues, because everybody loves this place, and they don't go home with a ticket. They go home with a smile.
It's so cool. I was sitting in the airport, and this nice couple, never been here before. They were coming here on just on the recommendations of some friends. So I get off the plane. First thing you do is you go to the bar, you get a Bloody Mary, you're waiting for your bags,
Always.
And the guy was like, "You must have been here before. You know what you're doing." I said, "Yeah, I've been here a few times." And it was so nice to give him recommendations of places to go and check out. And he had no idea where he was going. But it seems like you have those people on every corner here that'll just help you out, tell you where to go, check this out. That's how we found Blue Heaven the first time, which is, a place where my wife and I, it's such a romantic place, and, you're out under the lights. And so I sent him and his wife there, and just friendly, man. And then it's the only place I have ever been to where there are signs in the window that say gay-owned business. It's not like, yeah, we're gay. It's like, yeah, we're proud of this, and we're a gay-owned business. Come in our building, you know? And it's amazing to me.
That's something I really enjoy here. I'm a straight white guy,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't want to be around haters. You know?
Absolutely.
I love that here we have people from all over the world, all different sexual preferences, whatever the hell they like, and we'll all hang out together.
Right.
We don't get into our little groups and hate these guys or those guys. Like, I'll go into 801 and
Yeah, right?
I enjoy
That's right
it.
by where I'm staying.
I'd be bored if everybody looked the same. You know, like I really enjoy it. There's no hate there.
There's
like,
no
it's
stigma.
Such
There's
a positive vibe.
Yeah. That's it right there. Positive vibes, and there's certain towns. Austin's another one. Nashville has kind of that vibe. Calgary, Alberta, these places that I've gone to that are like kind of in the middle of this redneck heaven, you know? I mean, South Florida is not supposed to be the place where you go for this shit, you know? Neither is Nashville or Texas, you know? But you get these bastions of liberal, everybody's okay populations in these little tiny towns in the middle of redneck heaven, you know? It's kind of cool.
That's what I seek out.
Right.
Yeah, Florida's real weird. Like, North Florida is actually where the southern aspect is of it.
Yeah.
Then you get to Miami, which is more like, it's just Latin.
Yeah.
Where English is kind of a second language. But
Yeah.
it's not like the South at all.
Right.
And then I just call us the Conch Republic. I think America's crazy, man. I really like the Conch Republic.
How long have you been here?
4 years.
4 years. Where did you originally come from?
I came from a real small town in Hatteras, North Carolina.
Oh,
Originally
shit,
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Okay. I grew up pretty much in Hatteras, or around
Really?
that. Well, like, every summer, my father would pack us in the car as soon as school was done, and we would go down there for a month before we went back for football. You know, so we lived down there all the time.
It's a nice, relaxed place.
Yep.
Not the same liberal feel that we have here, but I fit in just fine there and had a good time. But I prefer the vibe here. But man, people talk about beaches. Their beaches actually are far nicer.
Hatteras is
To get an
something
uncrowded,
else.
gorgeous beach.
Wild horses on the Outer Banks, and yeah.
So I came for the winter because it's so quiet there in the winter.
Right.
And got here and I was like, I fit in this place. I love this place.
So you've lived that dream that probably you hear
All day
1,000
long.
times a year.
How can we move here?
Right.
And it's usually a good career or family. Very good reasons why people can't get here, but all day long, man, how could I get here? It's not easy.
Amazing to me that people. So my wife and I have a 4-year plan. My son refuses to move. So as soon as he's done with high school, we're moving south somewhere. Because Cleveland in the winter is goddamn ridiculous. You know, you should never live in a place where you walk outside and your face hurts from the air. You know, so I have always wanted to move south, and I always had some kind of regulator that kept me up north. She doesn't have that regulator, so the two of us together have just decided, now we're not going this far south because we still need to make a living owning a gym, and I don't see that as feasible down here. But, you know, we're looking at South Carolina, more Gulf Coast, St. Pete's, Florida, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
St. Pete's is great, man.
It's beautiful,
Yep.
way, way more affordable. Weather's still going to be great.
That's one thing I was going to ask you about here. One of the complaints I see online is that it's almost impossible for the locals who work in these tourist industries down here to actually live here comfortably.
It's tough. What I have going for me is I'm single.
Yeah.
No kids. So that's huge. I spend a little extra to live downtown, so I don't need a car. And I work at the chart room. I'm very fortunate to have the job that I have.
I'm sure the tips are pretty good down there for your regulars.
I get fantastic customers.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed for that. So I do actually live alone right downtown.
Living the dream.
It's great. If I lost where I'm living at now, I'd probably have to pony up about another $500 a month to equal, you know, what I've got now. So hopefully that won't happen. But It is tough, and it takes a little luck. I'm real.
How did you get the job at the chart room?
So I was here. I showed up December 1st rather, and bartender was what my resume said. I wanted to be a bartender. No one got back to me. I'm applying all over.
Had you been a bartender before?
Oh yeah, I had like 6 years experience.
Yeah.
Finally, I changed my resume like waiter or bartender. Applied at the Pier house, and they're the only people that called me. Went in, and I was like, I'll do anything. I just need to make some money.
Sure.
So I started out 6 a.m. breakfast shifts, making like $60 a day, which doesn't pay in this town at all, but at least I had something. Fortunately, my manager recognized that I was qualified and have good work ethic and kept moving me along. As somebody quit or got fired or whatever, she kept moving me into better and better positions until, fortunately, I wound up in the chart room. That's not a job people generally used to quit.
Right. Yeah.
So it was a lot of luck involved that I got that opportunity, and that's opened up a very good life for me.
Must have been, it was weird because the couple years we came down here, there was hit or miss bartenders at the chart room. Like I said, Mike Sprinkle was the first one that I had run into down here, and then there was a couple different girls who just didn't fit the bill. And then we came down and met you, and I don't think people get it. You know, if you're into history like I'm into history, if you're into the island like I'm into the island, it's such an important gig, and it's so important that you know stories and you know the background, and it makes or breaks the vacation. If I can sit in that bar and listen to someone tell stories like I did the last time you were down, it just makes the experience so much better, you know? And I don't know if people understand that, you know?
I consider it a part of my job to do that.
Absolutely. It has to be.
For people not to embrace that job, I think they're crazy. And I mean, it just gets better and better year after year as you meet more and more people, you know, and if you're
probably collecting more stories. And,
yeah. You never get enough and can never refine them enough. It's hard to get to that truth.
Right. You're probably getting different versions of it
all the time.
So give me some names of some people that have spent time in there.
One I always like to throw out is Hunter S. Thompson.
You told me a great Hunter story last time you were in about him serving himself drinks.
Yeah.
Tell that one.
That was a pretty fun one. I got a guy who worked there back when Hunter was there, a long time ago. And he was actually a real big guy himself. But I hear Hunter's pretty big. I've never seen him in person. So he's in the back getting some bottles, and he hears some shuffling out front because he's just setting up at the time. Comes out, and this guy's sitting there with a bourbon and Coke or something in front of him, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Right.
The guy's like, "I'm having a drink," and he's kind of thrown off. He goes back, gets some more bottles, comes back. He's like, "I'll kick your ass for that." Guy calmly says, "All right, just wait till I'm done with my drink if you don't mind." He keeps on stewing. He's really irritated. Right. He comes out. This is as a story. I'm telling exactly as he told it to me. He comes back out. He goes, "Who do you think you are, Hunter Thompson?" And the guy goes, "At your service." Then he's all starstruck because he was a huge Hunter fan. So he actually leaves the bar to go get some of his Hunter books to have Hunter sign them.
Jesus.
Comes back. He says, "Now there's two or three more people in there drinking their own drinks." At that point, he didn't give a shit because he was getting Hunter's autographs. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, Hunter was a hell of a character. He also said he came in with one time with either Jim or John Belushi, and he said the Belushi was by far the more wasted one than Hunter.
Yeah, that's hard to do, right?
I guess they threw down pretty hard themselves. Whichever one. I wish I had the first name correct.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure either one of them would have been quite the character. But you had, you had Buffett in there, you had Captain Tony, you had Mel Fisher, you had Jim Croce,
Johnny Carson.
He
was a big Mel Fisher fan, and after Mel found the treasure, he was on the Johnny Carson show. Turned out Johnny was a diver, so Mel invited Johnny to come out here and treasure hunt with him.
Right.
So he came in and went diving with Mel and hung out a little bit.
Do you still get divers in there?
Oh yeah, especially during Mel Fisher days.
Right.
And you can tell if they look old and salty and they have a big coin on their neck.
Right.
You know they're one of them. And most of them, a lot of them in that picture I've shown you, the famous picture with Jimmy on it on the boat.
Yeah,
on the photo
sitting on the
shoot.
silver bars.
Yeah. So I love that. And I don't remember everything they tell me, but I get all the stories out of them that I can.
Yeah.
They worked hard for that treasure.
One year I was down here, I ended up in the Angry Bull, or not the Angry Bull, the Bull on...
the Bull?
Yeah, what's it, Carolina Duval?
Yep.
And I ended up drinking with this Mel Fisher diver. You never know if people are full of shit or not, you know. And he had the coin around his neck, but you can buy those coins at any place on the island. And then, so he's telling me all these stories, and I'm getting into it, you know, and I'm suspending disbelief, even though everyone's saying, he might be, might not be. And then a couple weeks later, they found some long necklace, and here he is, the guy standing on the boat, holding the necklace out, like, you know, like arms stretched. I'm like, motherfucker, he was telling me the truth the whole time.
Mel's grandson's going to be able to show you one of those, hopefully. He's got one.
I'm psyched. I'm psyched to go talk to him.
They did it so that each link weighs a certain amount, and it was a way to store the gold in a way where they knew what it was worth.
Right.
So you could break off a link, and you know that's... I don't know the exact weight that it would be. Mel's grandson will be able to tell you, but that's pretty neat. I want to say also at the bowl, there's a female. She goes by Skunk.
Okay.
Who's actually in the picture. And she dove with him. And she's always going to be wearing bling.
Is she a customer or a worker?
Both.
Okay.
If she's a customer... Oh, no. At the bowl, she's a bartender.
Okay.
During Mel Fisher days, she'll pop in to the chart room. And wearing, like... you wouldn't wear that much bling in most towns, because people would take it off your neck.
Well, he said Mel used to walk around with a gold bar in his shirt pocket that he would stir his rum and coke with?
Yep. He was a big-time salesman. He had to be to pay for all this treasure hunting. It took him 17 years.
Yeah.
So he was constantly making deals on napkins in the bar, whatever he could do.
Right.
But he'd make sure he was always showing that gold to make people, you know, to get attention.
Yeah, was it ended up being $500 million?
That's estimated. Back in 85.
Yeah, right.
So who knows now? And they're still going for her. Mel's grandson believes there's at least another half of it out there.
They're still looking for the Stern Castle, I think, is what they said they're looking for.
There's another big part out there,
right?
They believe.
They still haven't found the Stern Castle, which I read the book Fatal Treasure. I don't know if you ever read that one. So it was by Jebediah Smith, and it was the story of them finding the Atocha. And the Stern Castle, I guess, is what they're looking for still. And they think that there's more on the Stern Castle because that's where all the priests were on board, and that's where they stayed, and they would store all the good shit in their quarters, you know, because they were just as greedy as everybody else. So they're still looking for that, supposedly.
And I think there are also logs that showed that other part of the ship that wasn't found had at least as much treasure as the part that was. And it's all shady, too, because they're coming from Colombia, and when they showed up at Cuba, all this illegal stuff came onto the boat. Right. Stuff that they didn't want to claim. So the boat had way more treasure than what it was technically supposed to. So who knows?
Isn't that amazing? And it's not in very deep water. It's
I think 30 feet, something like that. It took all that time. What happened is he initially thought the Marquesas was all of the keys. And then he eventually figured out the Marquesas was more specific area. And then he could narrow it down and find it.
Yeah, because I've been out to the Marquesas, and you go on the whatever they call it, the vomit rocket or whatever that hell thing.
Vomit rocket.
Yeah, you go right past the site where you can see the pylons or the dinghies out there, marking it out there, and I mean that's just such an incredible story, and all these guys down here who are still looking for it. What a career, man!
It's nuts.
You're going to go be a treasure diver. Who does that for a living, when the majority of us are sitting behind a desk all day,
I don't know if you know, we once were, I believe, the richest town per capita in the United States. Not from treasure hunting and not from producing a damn thing, but from shipwrecks. From salvaging. Yeah. Before the lighthouse was invented.
Right.
Boats were crashing all the time out there.
So they did that on purpose, right?
I'm pretty sure the locals were kind of trying to help facilitate boat crashes.
Right.
As soon as they hear about one, it's a race out to the boat. They take all their shit.
So that was
and then the people have to buy it back. we're getting rich off of that.
That was a specific Florida law, right? Like a salvage, like if you salvaged it, it was yours?
Yeah. And then they would sell it back if the people could afford it for more money to the people who wrecked. Kind of messed up, but very interesting.
Yeah, that's a very Key West occupation for sure. You were talking about Colombia. You were just down there?
Yeah, I just got back a few days ago.
No, what were you doing down there?
A lot of things. I explored the Caribbean coast. So I started out in Santa Marta, which was the first non-indigenous town in South America, actually. So it's a real old town. But really what it's great for is a launching point to go into the mountains there and just get in the hills, check out some waterfalls, coffee, whatever, cocoa. That was cool. And it's also a great launching point to Tirona Park, which is the most beautiful park they have there. It's just full of beaches, and the mountains just come right out of the ocean, kind of like California.
Right.
So like a few hour hike in, you got all these killer beaches, and they're dangerous. You can't go into them unless there's a few that are protected by a reef. So you can go into those.
The actual terrain is dangerous.
No, the water.
The water.
So if the water's not protected by a reef, you might get drug out. It could be dangerous to swim in, but there are a few that are protected by reefs, and it feels real good after a few hours of hiking in the Colombian heat to get in that water. Really gorgeous.
Did you stay in a town, or?
I stayed in Santa Marta.
Okay.
So Santa Marta, you got an hour drive to the mountains. You got like a 30-minute drive to the park. And then I also went scuba diving there, which was awesome, which was a 5-minute walk to town. And
how was it? Did you feel safe there? I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like Americans are so scared of everywhere else.
Yeah.
When I go places like that, I don't think I met any Americans. Europeans, girls in their 20s, like, I guess because Europe, you got all these countries with very different cultures that are very accessible to each other, so they're used to it. I don't know, but I was worried. I was prepared. Oh, tell me about that.
Well, we looked.
I meant to do that.
We were looking at. I think it was Cartagena.
I went there next.
I think Anthony Bourdain went there or something, and my wife and I were sitting on the couch, and I said something about, I hear it's so dangerous, but I wonder if it's all bullshit. So she looked it up online, and the stats for murders and everything were so much lower than Detroit and Chicago.
That's what I'm saying.
Where we go all the time,
People think I'm committing suicide when I go to Colombia. I'm like, do you look at the news, man?
But we were just in Chicago for a lovely weekend a couple weeks ago. Right. We weren't worried about it at all.
Go to the right places. Just go to the right places. And Cartagena is very safe. Anywhere there's a lot of money, it's going to be safe. They're protecting their money.
Right.
Cartagena is very safe. I walked all over that place. No problem at all.
Yeah.
And I have one story there. Don't fuck with the cops. And maybe that's why it's so safe. I don't know. It's killer and safe, so that's the ultimate. But I do have a little story of violence.
Yeah.
I had a little traditional meal there for all of $3. Walked out. Saw there's all these cops on doubling on motorcycles. There's a driver and a guy on the back.
Yeah.
And I see him turn around in front of me real slow because the streets are tight. Then he accelerates a little bit. And there's this kid. Couldn't have been 16 years old. Maybe 5'8", 100 pounds. Skinny as hell. They start going that way and start speeding up. And I don't know if he was just dumb or if he was actually guilty of something. But he started booking. And they were going after him. Like, I swear they'd have run him over. But at the last second, he jumps on the curb. And I hear this crack. Loud as shit. And I wasn't sure what it was, but the cop hit him with his baton.
Yeah.
And I see the kid fall on the ground. Didn't move for like a minute.
Yeah.
He wasn't knocked out. I think he was in shock.
Just hurting, yeah.
Then he stands up, and his wrist was dangling in the wrong place. Like, they broke his wrist. And this kid was clearly there's no way in the world he could afford a cab to a hospital.
Sure, right.
Probably couldn't afford a hospital bill. And so when he finally stands up and it's dangling, he just sits there for a minute, and for some reason the cops are still standing there. What was weird is if he stole something, you'd think they'd have took it back. They didn't even get off the motorcycle yet.
Right.
Then he just randomly starts yelling at him. And I guess he was in so much pain he had nothing to lose, but I'm like, shit. Then they get off their motorcycle. I'm like, please don't beat this kid up.
Right,
anymore.
right.
I thought they were going to hurt
him. Are you like
more.
averting your eyes at this point?
I'm like terrified, but I don't want to step in because it'll be me too. Yep. Like they don't fuck around, but maybe that's why there's no crime.
Yeah.
Like they're not giving you tickets. They're messing you up. Yeah. Maybe if you're a rich guy, they'll just take your money. But they get off their motorcycle. I'm terrified. They go up to them and almost console them. I don't know if they're saying like, don't tell anybody, or I didn't actually mean to break your arm. I just meant to hit you. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And then they get back on their motorcycles and leave, and there he is with his dangling wrist to figure out. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if he just winds up maimed for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he could afford to do anything about it.
You know, you're back in the 1800s now.
Right.
You know.
That was the only, but that's not going to happen to you and I doing the right thing. I don't know what he did. I don't think it was worth that.
If you're an American and you go down to Cartagena looking for trouble, you
shouldn't do that.
No, you've got a lot of problems.
Yeah, and they're either going to kick your ass or take your money. You may not go to jail. If you do, that'll be worse than the ass kicking or the fine.
Even we've been down to Mexico a bunch of times, and we've never had. Well, and you know the other thing is I'm pretty good with situational awareness, and I keep my head on a swivel, and I don't know, I'm not afraid to look you in the eyes, and I think they look for that shit, you know? And
oh, yeah.
With experience. Who's a mark and who isn't, you know?
The police do, and the people on the streets do. It's with experience, I've gotten quite good at that, to where, especially the people on the streets, you just, if you look scared, you look timid, then they're going to eat you up.
Do you spend much time down in the Caribbean?
I spent a few months, about 4 years ago. I backpacked all of Central America.
Nice.
As much as I can. I love the culture. I lived in California 16 years, worked alongside a lot of Mexican
everywhere.
guys. I love culture, man.
Yeah.
And I have wanderlust. I love moving around. And I go to places I can afford.
Right.
So Central and South America are quite affordable.
Yeah.
And I just love their culture.
You know, how old a man are you?
45.
So you're the same age as me. When people look at your lifestyle and you say things like that, you know, you're a bartender at the chart room, you have a wanderlust, you've been everywhere, I think that scares a lot of people.
It does.
Because I'm guessing you don't have a 401k and a retirement package then.
I could, actually.
Right. Through the chart room?
I'm fortunate that I could, and I do have full benefits, and I just don't have to choose for. Most bartenders don't have that luxury.
Right.
I do. I have full benefits, and I could have 401k. I do investing of my own, so I choose not to do that.
That's what I did when I retired. I just took all my money away from the state and said, I got this. Yeah.
So they think I don't want to grow up and I'm crazy. I think they're crazy. They think if I don't owe a huge debt on a house that I haven't grown up yet, I don't like paying debt. I think I know what I'm doing. I think they're going to work a lot longer than me.
So that's what I was getting at. I think there are, I think people have this narrow vision of what their life should be. So, for example, my wife and her brother graduated from college, became an engineer, got married young, had 2 kids, literally house in the suburbs with a white picket fence, the whole 9 yards. He was the favorite child. My wife went away and got advanced degrees. When I met her, she was playing volleyball on a beach somewhere and just fucking around and doing whatever she wanted. And she had a job that she went to and she did really well, but it wasn't her life. You know, she was into traveling and seeing stuff. And at the time I met her, I had the most unconventional job in the world. I was a professional athlete and was traveling all over North America, basically lifting giant stones and throwing telephone poles for money, you know? And my wife had 2 master's degrees, and her parents looked at her like she was some kind of freak show. To the point where when I asked her to marry, I asked her parents if I could marry her, and they went, "Are you sure?" That was the exact quote. "Are you sure?" And I was like, "What am I missing here?" You know, she's beautiful, she's intelligent, she's got the whole package. But I think one of the things that people need to realize, and why you probably hear it 1,000 times a year and it'll never happen, is people say, well, I want to move down here. But they're never gonna take that jump because they're never going to get away from that safety and security.
That's security, exactly.
Yeah. Even though they hate it, they may hate everything they do on a daily basis.
And if they just gave it a try,
right?
They just took that leap of faith. Usually, it's so much better, so much more rewarding than just sitting in this everyday job you hate just to feel safe.
Yeah.
And if you have kids,
it's different.
It really is different. Yep. Like I respect if you got to take care of your kids. That's what you should be doing.
That's why I said 4 years, and he knows. He gets out of high school in 4 years. He goes to college. Come visit us wherever we are. We'll pay for your ticket. But
I mean, the adventure you can have, the experiences you can have in a year, just outside of that daily grind, like the experiences are priceless. They're so awesome. People could, traveling a year. Some people in a lifetime don't do a year's worth of traveling.
Right. Yeah, it's. I think it's a lesson for people to learn. The good thing about it is not many people do it, and I think that's a good thing because you're
down on the competition,
and people think you're nuts. And I leave it all up to my wife. You find a place for us to go, and we'll go. Wherever, as long as it's below the Mason-Dixon line and I don't have to freeze in the winter, I'm good to go. I love the St. Pete area. I love this area. It wouldn't be conducive to what we do as a business plan, but there's not going to be a time where I'm not bouncing down here. I'm not bouncing down to Grand Turk. I'm not bouncing down to St. Thomas,
That's what keeps it fun.
Right? Yeah.
You don't want to get stale and just fall into some lame groove.
We were at St. Thomas and we met a guy who, I think it was Governor's Beach, I think was the name of the place. But he was the bartender there, and he was about as pasty as you could possibly imagine. And I said, where the hell did you come from? And he said, Minnesota. And I said, how'd you get down here? He said, I came down here on spring break and I never left. And he was 40. And
he's probably happy as
could be. Happy as could be, just living his life,
We just get raised. You're supposed to have a mortgage and babies. That's what our parents want from us.
Absolutely.
That's what makes our parents think we're successful. And that's a real pressure.
Yeah.
What your parents want matters,
It's a different generation. That baby boom generation, that was super important to them. They had to have the white picket fence and you had to have the 401k and the
like a measure of success.
Yep. And as long as you had the same thing as everybody else did, you were successful,
My measure of success is experiences.
Absolutely.
You can't get many experiences while you're earning that white picket fence. And
I had a buddy tell me one time, stupidest quote ever, but it made such sense to me. And he said, my buddy Matt Vincent, he said, I only have money to spend on goods and experiences. So it was just like, I've got this money, I'm going to spend it doing shit I love to do, And we were in Iceland when he told me that. And I was like, yeah, that rang true. That's.
I'm the same. I have very little material possessions.
Yeah.
Very few. I save my money for traveling. I like to eat out and drink. I like those also when I'm, can't always be on vacation. But eat, drink, and travel. That's pretty much where my money goes.
That's what we do too. There's no, we don't have a real TV. We don't have like a lot of toys, and she's, God love her. She's so good about paying shit off so that in 10 years we don't have to worry about any of this shit. We can just go and get stuff done. But, now, last time we were down here, are you still doing jujitsu?
No, I'm not.
Is there even a place down here to do it?
There is. Bone Island Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
It's small but good. Nice guy. First name's Eddie. He's a black belt. I forget who he's under. Real small school, but it does exist.
Yeah.
Hard to combine my age, my Key West lifestyle, and the conditioning I need for that.
You can do it, man. I'm telling you. I just started.
Did you?
In late February, early March, I started.
I'm so passionate about it. It's my favorite sport I've ever done by far.
It's the most addictive thing I've ever done in my life.
I did it over 10 years straight. I couldn't. You don't want people to get ahead of you.
Yeah. Right?
It's so addictive.
How high did you get?
Brown belt.
Wow. You're fucking advanced.
I was advanced, yeah, man. I was advanced. I love it. I commuted an hour most of the time.
So why aren't you still doing it?
Well,
you got to get back to it.
I might. It's tough. You got to be in shape. I went and visited the school.
Yeah,
and I rolled and did good.
Gi or no gi?
That was no gi.
Okay.
I got my mom to send me my gi and all my sparring stuff, everything. I went in and I did great. I feel like I still know what I was doing.
Right.
But I could hardly ride my bike home.
Yeah.
So to do that, you got to stay in shape.
Yeah.
And I'm a Key West bartender. Kind of part of the whole deal, you know, even when I'm not working, I'm going out with customers or who become legit friends.
Yeah.
And going and supporting people who support me, stuff like that. It's hard to be doing that and show up and deal with these hungry 25-year-olds.
I'm going to put you
train every day.
As soon as this is done, I'm going to add you to our online training program so you can just 20 minutes a day. And I'm telling you, this is what I do every day to train and get back in the groove. And 45 years old, man, I took it up. I've got one measly stripe on my white belt, and I took 4 classes this week, you know, just getting after it.
If you can do that, you can kill it. If you can get 1 or 2 classes a week, it's hard to stay in shape. You got these young guys who don't have to work, and they've got their parents' money, and they can go train 5 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah. I sneak it. I get 3 days minimum if the wife has something going on. Like she's in South Carolina right now, so she left a day early when I got the 4th class in, you know, and I knew there was going to be black belts in that class, so I wanted to roll with them. And I'm dealing with, I got choked out last night. I got something going on in my throat right now. It hurts to swallow, you know. But
it'll heal. It's your trachea.
It's so addictive. And I remember coming down here and talking to you about it, and I was like, I don't know. And then a friend of mine talked me into it, and
it's the best.
First class, I got annihilated, and I couldn't wait to get there the next morning for the next class, you know.
Because you're a man. There's 2 different people that come in there. You got people that come in like you, and you're a big bad dude already. You get your ass kicked.
I learned I didn't know how to fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Some guys, that happens, they want to erase that shit from their memory, and they never come back.
Yeah.
The real men are like, damn, there's something to that. And they get hooked.
I was
both
obsessed.
ways.
I was like, I don't know how to fight. What, you know, I worked 19 years as a corrections officer. I was in hundreds of altercations. And I realized that this 165-pound guy just beat the fuck out of me, like literally like mouth bleeding because he had an Ezekiel choke on and didn't get it under my chin. And,
that's what makes it addictive. And for me as a small guy, like almost every time we get these new tough guys in there, they'll be looking at me and I'm looking in their eye and they know they're going to whoop my ass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'll smoke them 3 times in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they often never come back.
Yeah.
But it's addictive to just...
The black belt in my class, Ulrich, we just had him on the podcast a couple weeks ago. He's almost the exact same size you are. And he just sits there in an Indian-style position with his shoulders shrugged, and he's like, come on, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? You know, he's not giving me any offense at all. He's just waiting for me to do something stupid. And I do. I do something stupid every fucking time.
Well, natural instincts are wrong.
Right? Yeah. And I'm talking to myself. So, like, I put him in a headlock, and I'm like, I shouldn't put him in a headlock. I know I shouldn't put him in a headlock.
I wound up on your back.
Slept. Yep. Every time. And he's just laughing at me, you know, but...
the way that it works is what's so addictive. Like a lot of striking sports, man, I don't care how good I am at striking. I don't want to trade punches with you.
No, I don't want to get hit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where jiu-jitsu, like, you're avoiding that whole game.
Yeah.
So you can avoid the whole size factor once you got to get it to the ground.
Yeah.
Once it's on the ground, it just works.
I watch all these old Valley Tudo matches, and those were men. Yeah. Those guys were fucking men, man.
Pele.
Yeah.
With hardly any rules.
No rules, yeah. Just getting after it, and Speedos just like kicking and slapping each other in the face, and then eventually goes to the ground. I watch old Hickson Gracie's my favorite.
Oh, he's amazing. I can't. His son, Crone. I can't wait to see more and more of him.
He's not had that many matches.
No, but he looks fantastic against Alex Karalexis. Fantastic.
Yeah. What'd you think of Stipe fight?
Amazing. It was like a Rocky fight.
Right.
After the second round, I'm looking at the guy next to me, and And we both love Stipe, and we're like, this isn't looking good, man.
Yeah,
his face looked like shit.
Yeah.
But, man, his face never lost heart.
Yeah.
He never slowed down cardio-wise, and he just never lost heart. And so it's so beautiful to see him come back from that. He started landing those body shots, and Daniel started slowing down. Like,
I would
heart and conditioning.
So much love to get him on the podcast, and he only lives like 20 minutes from me, you know, and I've got to get a hold of him.
I think you can.
Yeah, it's like the white whale. He is Cleveland. That's Cleveland.
I can imagine.
That's where we are. Like I talked to you about earlier, you go outside and your face hurts in the winter. You know, it's hard-nosed people.
He actually attributes that to his toughness. I just saw it in his post-fight press conference. He was talking about that. Not the cold weather, but just the area he lives in general.
You hear that with East Coast and West Coast SEALs, Navy SEALs. The East Coast guys make fun of the West Coast guys because, you know, the East Coast guys are all New York and New Hampshire and Maine, and, you know, they're not, cold doesn't fucking bother them, you know, and
I have a lot of respect for SEALs.
Yeah, my training partner is a SEAL.
I had one too.
Yeah.
He's
bigger than me, which is awesome because I can't out-muscle him.
You know, guys like you in Jujitsu, that's almost something that's tough for you.
Yeah, it is.
It's so easy to rely on your strength.
Yep. And I can't out-muscle this guy. He's bigger than me.
That's what you need to improve technique. It's hard for really big guys to get as good as little guys because they can cheat so easy.
And I find myself doing it, you know. And
you can't help it. You're competitive. You want to win. Use what you got.
In my instructor, Ulrich and Paul, both of them, in their defense, they both tell me, it's what you got. You know,
it's what you got.
I'm really flexible. You've got your key locks, Kimuras.
You can always get the key lock.
I love north-south chokes, you know, and shit like that. But yeah, it is. I was a professional athlete for 17 years, and this is the most addictive thing
I love it.
I've ever done.
Coolest sport I ever did.
Yeah, it changed my whole training program around, and you know, I'm swinging kettlebells now, and running, and swimming, and doing all this shit, just trying to get my cardio up and still stay strong. And I'm gonna put you in the online program. You can always opt out of it if you want, but I got to get you back. Next time I come down here, I want to hear I'm back to rolling. I've got that third stripe on my brown belt. I'm getting ready to go black belt. You know, that's what I want to hear.
Pressure's on.
Pressure's on. Hey, I'm going to let you go because you've got to be at work here soon, and I've got another interview, and I don't want to make you late. So,
sounds good.
Well, this has been awesome. We are always down in Key West, so if you're willing, I would love to have you on again, and we'll talk shit.
Absolutely.
Have more stories.
It's always a pleasure.
All right. John, thank you very much. This has been The Refined Savage. See ya.
Thanks for having me.